What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Bridging to Geekdoms. I am your host, Robert Slavinsky, and today on the show, I'm going to be reviewing Man of Steel. Now, Man of Steel came out in 2013. This was perceived to be the beginning of a larger universe within the DC films. They were trying to catch up to Marvel. At least that's what everybody thought was happening. This came after the success, the major success of the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy. 3 movies that kind of exploded and put DC on the map. So, people were like, oh, Warner Brothers is going to continue. Now they're giving us a new Superman. This is going to be fantastic. Not only that, but the story was and it was being produced by Christopher Nolan, the man who made the Dark Knight trilogy. So everybody was just over the moon about this. This is like, how could this go wrong? Then they brought on the director of The Watchmen, of 300, of Dawn of the Dead. It was kind of like, whoa, okay, he's got a very stylistic view of things. This could be really, really interesting. Then they cast Henry Cavill and Amy Adams as Superman and Lois. Now, that there was a little concerning. I mean, let's face it. I mean, we know Lois Lane as being a very hard-nosed, journalist who takes no shit. While Amy Adams is a fantastic actress, that kind of worried me a little bit because I didn't see her as a Lois Lane type of person. Not only that, but, this was back in the time when people were like, if they don't look the part, then they shouldn't get the part. And, she has red hair. She's a redhead. Lois Lane has notoriously been a black-haired or brunette in the comics and in every other iteration. I can't talk. So the fact that, we now have a redheaded Lois, that kind of was worrisome to some people. Now Henry Cavill, good British boy coming in, taking on the role of Superman. He wasn't very well known at the time. He was still relatively unknown. He was on the Tudors a little, for a time and did some other roles, but he wasn't a household name. So everybody was like, oh, is he going to be able to be as good as Christopher Reeve was? Even Brandon Routh, who was in Superman Returns, people consider to have done an amazing job as Clark Kent Superman, especially continuing on the legacy that Christopher Reeve did with the films back in the 70s and 80s. So could Henry Cavill push forward? And that was the question on everybody's mind. So when the movie came out, I went and watched it. I was like, oh, this is going to be an amazing movie. This is going to be awesome. And I wasn't wrong. I absolutely loved the movie. There's so much about it that truly encapsulates and understands Superman and Clark Kent unlike any other iteration of the character. And, whether it's Zack Snyder's directing or the writing by David Goyer or Nolan, whatever it was, this movie just truly understands what Superman is in this current world. So, let's go with it here. The starting of the movie on Krypton was supposed to be drastically longer. It was supposed to be like 30, 40 minutes long or something like that. I mean, it was supposed to be a long scene, but they shortened it down, just under 20 minutes, I believe, maybe even less than that. They shortened it down, so we can get to the story of Superman and Clark Kent a lot faster. But it is a fantastic scene because unlike what we've seen in the past, Krypton is very mysterious. And we never got to see that. So now we're finally getting to see that and see how technically advanced they are. They've always shown the technical advancements that Krypton has, but we've never truly seen the technical advancements that Krypton has. And we're finally getting to see that in this movie. And amazing job in doing that. The characters, the designs, everything just was otherworldly. And where previous Superman iterations have failed, everything just seems so earthly still. Regardless of them being alien, everything still felt earthly. This was the first time, in my opinion, that things truly felt alien. They truly felt different. Like it's not something that we would see on Earth. That was an amazing little detail that you put into it because you have to, especially if you're building a larger world. So, Krypton, amazing, and it's just such a powerful scene, and how it opens up to the birth of Kal-El. And this idea that children aren't born anymore on Krypton, that they're actually farmed and created for a specific task. And that the Kryptonians have gotten so full of themselves and they've gotten so full of their ideals that they're destroying their own planet, yet refusing to find a new planet, a new home to live on. I mean, it's something that comes to almost every civilization. Every civilization at some point in time is truly the ones who defeat themselves, who causes them to fall. And that is what happens on Krypton. The idea that Jor-El, being this scientist, being this smart man, is the one who sees all this and is like, look, we can save our people. We can save what we have built. And I've held this hope of saving a savior in my hand of sorts. Speaking about Kal-El, because there's another way to live. We don't need to gather all this up and move to another planet. No, we can still have children. We can still do this. And that's something that people, I think, fail to realize, that, even when it comes to the failures of a society, there's always ways prior that you are able to change the direction and fix it. It's just that those in power, those that lead us, need to accept that and move forward. So, very meta, very interesting take on Krypton, and I love it. It is fantastic. It is an amazing, amazing moment or collection of scenes within the movie. Finally, when we get to Earth and we start to see the story of Kal-El, or Clark Kent, being on Earth and discovering who he is, it's an amazing journey, and it's so interesting because as we see Clark discovering these abilities he has, as he's going through life, because he's lost. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know where he belongs. This is all about humanizing Superman. This is about humanizing Clark Kent, because Clark Kent is Superman is so hard to relate to. He's a super being. How do we relate to him? And the way that they decided to do it in this movie was just brilliant, because you bring him down to our level, because all of us at some point in time have dealt with rejection, dealt with fear, dealt with anxiety or depression. We've all dealt with it in some form or fashion in our life. And that's what they did with Clark Kent in this movie. They were able to make us understand, like, man, he had a difficult life because he's the only one of his kind. He's the only one that he has no out. He has nobody to teach him how to be who he is. Now, on the flip side, you then have Jonathan and Martha Kent, who both are just amazing, amazing human beings who obviously want to protect their son. And you can only do that by, explaining to him, like, look, yeah, we know you have these abilities, but, we're worried about what could come of this and with you if it's revealed. And that's the beauty of it, because there's no parent who's going to sit there and be willing to sacrifice their child for the greater good. I mean, maybe there is. I mean, it would be a very difficult decision, but ultimately, as a parent, your goal and your idea and your ideals are to protect your children, to be there for your children at all times. And that is what Martha and Jonathan are doing. They're trying to raise him to understand, look, hide your abilities because we're trying to protect you. Yeah, we're also trying to protect the world, because the world could go into a frenzy if they realize who you are and what you are and that you come from another planet. But they're also being selfish in a way, and that's okay. It's okay for these characters to have flaws, especially when it comes to children, because it's very human. It's very real. It's very real. And that's the beauty of this movie, is it's so real. You feel it. You truly feel it. There's a lot of complaints about how Jonathan Kent dies. In the comics and other iterations, he has a heart attack. And that's something that Clark cannot prevent. Clark cannot save his father from a heart attack. And, it's something that Clark learns in those iterations, and how, he can't save everybody. He just can't. No matter how hard he will try, there will be times when he can't save everybody. And that is a very important aspect of the character, especially in the comics. However, in this iteration of Superman, in this story, they do change it up a bit for a couple reasons. Because they decided to take a more realistic approach to the character, to this world, they made it where Jonathan Kent dies in a tornado. And he dies in the tornado, and everybody's like, oh, Superman could easily have run over there, with his speed, grabbed him and pulled him back and his strength and everything. But what that would have done is that would have revealed himself to the world. He would have been revealed to all those people that were standing there. And in doing that, would have gone against everything that Jonathan and Martha were doing to prevent him from being revealed and protecting him and protecting the world. And that was the greatest sacrifice that he could ever witness. He witnessed his father sacrifice himself, not just for his son, but for the world as well. And that does come into play in the sequel in Batman vs. Superman. And it's beautiful because Jonathan died. His final thing in life was teaching his son a lesson that there's always a greater good. Yes, he could easily have come and saved me. But what would that have done to the world? What would that have done? And that is the beauty in that scene. And people seem to like, oh, I hate it. You don't let that happen, blah, blah, blah. No, you're missing the point because he's still teaching a lesson there. And he's teaching a lesson of the greater good, of the idea that, look, it isn't always about you. It isn't always about me. It's about protecting this world. And by saving Jonathan in that moment, who knows what would have happened? Who knows the frenzy the world would have gone into now knowing that there is a superhuman alien, a super alien being on this planet. And that's kind of the idea behind it. I know people will try and poke holes in that theory, or not theory, in those facts, but it is what it is. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful scene, one that makes me tear up all the time, especially because I lost my father at a very young age. So you got that going. Then, as the story continues, he's lost. Clark is just lost, and he's trying to understand these lessons that his father and his mother taught him through life, and protecting himself, protecting the world, not revealing himself, and that there will be a time where you have to decide the man who you're going to become. And it's at that moment where he's just like, he doesn't know. He's just so lost. And he comes across a Kryptonian ship where he then discovers his birth father, Jor-El, in, a computer form, an AI form. And he's the one that kind of teaches him about the greater scheme, the greater ideas, what Clark could be to this world. And that's where he starts to realize, okay, there was a reason why my family, my Earth parents, kept me hidden. But now I understand that I was put here for a greater good. So let's see what this does. Let's see how this plays out and works. And that's whenever he decides, okay, let's become this super being. Let's push my limits, see what I can do, see what I can bring to this planet. And when General Zod, played fantastically by Michael Shannon, comes to Earth and is like, look, we know that there's a being here. We want him. The whole idea for him, and this is what's so amazing about this movie, is it takes a villain and truly makes the villain not a villain. It really isn't. He's trying to save his people, just like Clark is trying to do. Clark is trying to save who he perceives as his people, Earthlings, Earth. He's trying to protect them. That's what General Zod is trying to do. He's trying to bring Krypton back, and everything he does is for the betterment of Krypton. The way he goes about it is not the best way, but he's truly, is he really the villain that everybody, when you think of villains, General Zod, he's got, it makes a lot of sense. It really does. Let's just put it that way. It makes a lot of sense. And yeah, he's a bad guy because of the way he goes about it, but it's not like he's doing it for horrendous reasons. He's not doing it because he wants to be the ruler or he just wants to kill. No, he's doing it to save his people. It's such an amazing concept and idea. So you got that going. So you got all this going on right now when it comes to General Zod. He comes to Earth and he's like, look, I give me him, and I'll leave your planet per se, in peace. You then determine that, or discover that what he's looking for is the way to create more Kryptonians. And in the beginning of the movie, Jor-El, imbues the the cells of the ancestors of the Kryptonians into Clark. So Zod wants to use Clark to make Krypton again and create the population of Kryptonians. And obviously, that's not something Clark is going to want to do. And he discovers, oh man, you're going to destroy my planet. So, obviously he's going to stop him. But the thing that you have to realize is Clark, who's been trying to find his place this entire time, is finding somebody who is from his planet, who can teach him and explain to him his ancestry and all that he could have been if he would have stayed on Krypton, if Krypton was still there. That's, one of those things, like you sit there and start to realize, like, he's not going to want to kill Zod or fight Zod. Zod and those Kryptonians, those are people that he's going to want to learn from and get to know. But he's not given that choice because Zod not only threatens the planet, but he threatens the people that he loves. So he has to protect those he loves. And it's in that moment when he realizes, when his birth father Jor-El is like, look, you could become a greater ideal, you can become something greater, you can save them all. And that's when he realizes, like, all right, yeah, I'm going to have to be this being. And he accepts the fact that he's going to be something more, something that he never thought that he would ever be, because his parents that raised him, Earth parents, told him to hide himself away. But he's now found his purpose. He understands that he's going to be something bigger, something more inspiring. So when he finally realizes that, he takes on Zod, and he gets the upper hand only because he had time to attune his abilities over the course of the last 20 plus years while being on Earth. Where Zod and Feora, they're not able to. They don't have the abilities. They didn't have the time and ability to attune those skills. So as they, move on and they finally find a way, okay, they're going to use the world engine. They're going to start, terraforming the planet. Clark has to go and stop the terraforming to then battle Zod. And again, this is all about him coming into who he is as a person, as a being, and understanding that he is for doing this for a greater good. He goes, destroys the world engine. Then he has to face down Zod. And when he faces down Zod, it's one of those things, you can tell he's hesitant. He's backing off. He doesn't want to fight him because, again, this is his only living connection to Krypton. The only person that could possibly be able to explain to him where he comes from. But Zod, being angry, he allowed his anger to run rampant there. He didn't understand and doesn't realize what Superman is doing, because he's like, look, you are Kryptonian. Everything I do is for Krypton. Why are you not fighting for Krypton? Why are you fighting for this other planet? He just can't grasp that. So they fight. You got to remember, Superman, while he has attuned his skills over the last 20 plus years, he's never been a fighter because he's always had to hold back. So fighting and getting into a battle, this is not something he's used to. And while the city and Metropolis is just getting destroyed, he continuously tries to pull Zod away from the city. He tries to get away from there because he realizes that he needs to save people. He needs to save the people of Metropolis. But the fight just keeps going back there, whether it's from Zod taking him there or just because he doesn't yet understand how to control his abilities in a fight. And, it's destruction, pure destruction that happens there. It's waking up the world. The thing that his parents, Jonathan and Martha, were so afraid of is now happening. They were afraid of how the world would react and what would happen to this world had Clark revealed himself to be this super being. And in this fight, their worst fears are coming true because he is showcasing the worst side of what being Superman and this being is. But as he fights Zod, he gets him to a point where it's like, it's either you kill Zod or you allow Zod to kill Earthlings, human beings, people that he's trying to protect, that Clark has come to the conclusion that he needs to protect. And he goes ahead and stands with Earth and kills Zod. And when he does that, and he realizes that the last surviving member of his heritage, of his ancestry, of his race, whatever you want to call it, he killed. And he drops down and first off, he killed somebody. Secondly, it's the pain of knowing that he is truly alone in this galaxy, and that's in this universe. It's what he's thinking. That's what's going on in his head. He's truly alone. And as Lois comes over and gives him a hug, that's his attachment. We're starting to see his attachment of what can draw him back to being an Earthling and who he is and how he was grown up. It's such a beautiful movie. And Batman vs. Superman, which I'm going to review later on, just continues this story so well. So well. It's crazy to me that people refuse to sit there and realize what this movie truly does and shows when it comes to Superman and how deep it actually is when it comes to a story about a human, not a human, but a man coming to grips with who he is, trying to find himself. It's all beautiful. I love it so much. Let me know what you thought of Man of Steel down in the comments below. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, all that jazz. I want to talk to you about Man of Steel. I'm going to do a Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice review here very soon. I'm going to get these all out before Zack Snyder's Justice League comes out. Remember, Zack Snyder's Justice League comes out on HBO Max on March 18th. It's a worldwide release, guys. It's going to be everywhere on March 18th. That is fantastic. Never been done like that before. It's going to be just amazing, amazing, amazing. We get to see the continuation of what started in Man of Steel. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I will talk to all of you later.